Woke up to your grin. Turned my
Here we go. Welcome to the Max Podcast, episode number one. We have made it. And by made it, I mean we're actually here. We showed up and we're doing episode number one. So this is exciting. We got a producer, we got somebody handling social, and we have my
guest.
my father, the guest, Steve Woodburn, the infamous. For episode number one. So the premise of this podcast in general is to harness the topics that people are passionate about and bringing to light their knowledge, their inspirations, their passions. So it's always going to be a very diverse and spread topic in the sense that no one podcast is probably going to be the same. And we do have quite the selection of people lined up for podcasts. So we'll start with episode number one. And from there, you guys are always welcome to drop a comment, give some feedback. We'd love to hear from you in terms of how we can do better. So welcome to the Max podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So it's obviously easy to ask your father to be on the first podcast ever, right? So he was pretty available, at least for me. But I do think that you have a very interesting story as a whole. Born and raised in California, right?
Yeah.
And you've done everything from be an innovator, an entrepreneur. You've done audio, you've done acting. You've been a disc jockey. You've flown in helicopters to report on traffic. You have...
Was in sales for 34 years.
Yeah, not even to mention your career, right? So those are all your passions, but not even to mention your career in sales in the promotional products business for 30-some years. So, super interested in just starting kind of at the beginning. Maybe we don't get hung up on all the the minutia,
yes.
the fine details of it, but tell us kind of about where you grew up in California and then how that segued into jump-starting maybe into radio, and moving to Atlanta, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And feel free to ask questions.
Of course I will.
Go along. So I grew up in a town called beautiful downtown Burbank.
Burbank. Good spot.
Probably people watching this have no clue why it's called beautiful downtown Burbank. But back when I grew up, there was a show called Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. It's one of the most famous shows. President Nixon was on there. All these famous actors got their start there.
This was a location in Burbank, or that was a show?
So the show was called Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. It was on NBC or one of those networks back then.
Yeah, got it.
And they started, and it was filmed in Burbank because NBC was in Burbank. So they started calling it facetiously Beautiful Downtown Burbank on the show.
Got it.
And the name just stuck, and I've got a bumper sticker that says Beautiful Downtown Burbank. So people that are old will
they'll be able to
know that connotation.
Okay,
yes.
Got it.
But anyway, I grew up in Burbank. Loved growing up in California at the time. I wouldn't live there again if you paid me.
I was about to say at the time.
No.
Not a great place right now.
No.
Everybody's leaving in droves.
That's right.
Droves.
Droves. Including the billionaires.
Yeah.
So I grew up there. I was always interested in acting, and I don't know why, because none of my relatives were in
From when you were young, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first thing I ever did when I was a grocer in some play at church.
A grocer
in
a
play?
Like
9 or 10 years
What do you mean by
old.
grocer?
A grocer, like a grocery store.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And I had to
that
borrow
was
an
the role.
apron
That was
and-
the role.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
So,
So you're always interested in that, and what was kind of the first step in maybe making that a reality in some way, shape, or form?
I really didn't do anything I got involved in plays in school.
Okay, plays were the first.
Then we moved from Burbank to San Jose when I was 16.
Yep.
I continued to do school shows, and I always loved radio. I grew up in the era of what I call the golden era of top 40 radio.
Yeah. Very different from today. Everything's very visual, very digital, but radio was everything back in the day.
Back then, yeah.
I mean, people would huddle around the family radio when things came on, right? There were fights that would be aired through the radio, maybe later on.
Before TV.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but before television, radio was all you had.
Yeah, interesting.
And so people would, and radio theater was big back then. People did all these famous actors did radio shows before TV came along, and then they got into TV.
Okay.
Jack Benny, Jackie Gleason, and all these people.
So that was a runway for them to get there. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, and radio is a totally different beast now than it was then.
It is, yeah, of course.
Because you got all the streaming, everything else. Terrestrial radio, which is AM, FM, is kind of a dying thing.
Yeah.
In fact, they're even talking about pulling radios out of cars.
Oh, altogether? Are they really?
And of course, the radio industry's fighting that, saying, well, for safety, you need it because if there's...
For safety.
Well, if there's...
That does make sense, yeah.
Things coming, you can turn on the radio and listen.
Yeah. Live without an internet connection.
Right.
You could just have it in the car. It's built in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, so I listened to radio growing up as a kid and always loved it. And I thought, that'd be kind of fun to be on the radio.
Yeah.
So at some point I decided to, while I was waiting to be a famous actor, I was playing the radio.
While you were waiting for that to just kick into place. Yeah.
You can see how that turned out. So I went to a radio school. The Dave Ware School of Broadcasting.
I don't think I knew that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was a 6-month course. Back then, and so much of this is so archaic, but back then, you had to have, to be on the radio, even to be a disc jockey, you had to have a license from the FCC.
Each individual had to?
Yes.
Huh.
Because back then you had to check different power settings and stuff for the towers. And so you had to get this radio license, and it wasn't about being a disc jockey. It was about all the technical stuff behind radio.
Interesting. Huh.
And I am not technical at all. So
neither am I. Which is why we have people helping us facilitate here.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically you're memorizing this test.
Yeah, okay.
And I had to take the FCC test, go up to San Francisco. I was living in San Jose at the time. Go up to San Francisco, take this test. And I passed. So
how long did you have to study for? And then it was just one time, you just knocked it out and you passed?
Yeah. I mean, you like a law exam, or I don't know about doctors, but law exams, you can take them over and over.
You could not do that with that one?
No, you could.
Oh, okay.
But fortunately, I passed it the first
just
time.
knocked it out. Okay. How old were you when you did that?
I was 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're really taking them back, huh?
So I went to the school and got put together an audition tape.
Yeah.
Because you had to put together a tape.
Okay.
That you would send to stations you wanted to work for.
Sure.
And they would listen to you and go, oh, he sucks, or, yeah, we love him.
Or we like him.
So I ended up getting my first job down in a town called Visalia, which you're aware of.
Very familiar with Visalia. Beautiful place.
Yeah. It's in the Central Valley of California.
Mm-hmm.
KONG. Kong Radio.
Oh, was that what it was?
The call letters.
Kong Radio.
And it's interesting because that was when a remake of a movie called King Kong came out.
Of course. And
so I thought, oh man, this station's going to be doing all this publicity, big time, because they can tie into the movie. And it turned out that they didn't care. The station.
What do you mean? The radio did?
The radio station didn't care about any of that because the radio station was the only station licensed to Visalia.
Oh, okay.
So what that meant was when advertisers wanted to advertise in Visalia, national advertisers, whatever, they went to KONG.
Okay.
They made boatloads of money. They didn't need to promote themselves or do any of this stuff. So anyway, I got a job. I remember sitting before this guy. He was at his desk, and Harry Lehman, and he was in his suit and tie, and he was questioning me, so why do you want to be in radio, and all this.
This was the president or the interviewer?
This was the owner of the station.
Oh, okay, the owner.
Yeah.
Got it, yeah.
And this is, tiny little station. This isn't like it's,
it's not iHeartRadio.
No, it's not. There were no iHeartRadios back then.
No, not them.
Anyway, I got a job, so I was doing afternoon drive as a disc jockey, and I was learning to get. I should have brought one of my. I had my first audition tape.
Oh, you do?
I kind of sound like this because I sound like Mickey Mouse because I didn't.
Nuts hadn't dropped yet,
huh? And here we go.
And here we go, and let it begin.
No, they hadn't dropped yet, and so...
Got it, okay. I'll be, well, next podcast, you bring that back on.
Yeah.
And we'll hear that. That'd be interesting to hear. But tell people kind of what does a disc jockey do? Because everybody thinks of like a DJ nowadays, and they
Right.
go, "Oh, they have a mixing board in front of them, and it's electronic music." And
Right.
DJs are not the same now
No,
at all.
no.
So,
Yeah,
what did a disc jockey do involving kind of the multiple elements? Because it's
Yep.
not just one thing, right?
Right. And when I got in radio, we used records.
Yes.
So there was no
Yeah, you had to
anything.
physically grab the
Yes.
record, right?
And like disc jockeys today at weddings or whatever, we had 2 turntables.
Okay, so the turntables were still there.
Yeah, we had 2 turntables. One would be playing the record. The other one you'd be queuing up the next song.
That's right.
And you'd cue it up a quarter turn before the song started. So when you hit the button, by the time it got to the beginning, it was going.
Timing was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But disc jockeys had to queue up the records. Usually smaller stations, you would pick your own music.
Yeah, okay.
Bigger stations,
Back then,
you were given a list.
I was going to say, not
Yeah.
anymore.
You had to do your air shift, which was play the music. You had to put together bits or whatever, that you wanted to do while you're on air, any kind of jokes or, think about what you were going to do throughout the 2 or 3 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you had to put together commercials. You'd go into a separate studio, and
you
produce
as the
commercials.
disc jockey
Yes.
had to facilitate that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So they would give me scripts. I would have a box, and it would say, here's like 5 commercials you got to produce.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd go in there, I'd do the voiceover, I would put the commercials together, and again, this is really archaic. I saw this on Facebook the other day, a picture of it. They had these things called splicing blocks. So all of this was done on reel-to-reel tape. Again, there was no digital. So you would record on a reel-to-reel tape. You know what that is?
I don't.
So it's literally the magnetic tape that was like in a cassette or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
And it would be on reels, and you would record on there, and then to edit it, you had to literally take the tape, find the spot you wanted to cut, put it on the splicing block, cut it with a razor blade,
Literally, physically cut
splice
that
them
thing
together
out,
with this
splice
little
it together.
tape. Yep,
That is so crazy.
it's crazy.
How would you know that that's the segment you had to cut out and remove?
Well, you would record it, and then you'd kind of know what needed to be taken out.
But you would know based on how long into the
Well,
airing?
you would cue it up and listen, so
Got it, okay.
you would hear exactly where you wanted
And then you
to.
would physically track it,
Yeah.
and then that's so crazy.
So crazy.
Now we
So
have
archaic.
CapCut, and there's all these
Exactly.
things that you can just plug
I
and
use
play.
Adobe Audition all the time, and it's
Yeah,
all digital.
Or you just like
Yeah.
on an iPhone, as you edit a video, you just
Yep.
drag and drop. I want to cut that segment
Yep.
out,
Yep.
and it's done. No, you
Yeah.
physically had to.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and
Okay.
they had to do that with film too back in the day.
So that's how you fix a screw up,
yeah,
or
Yeah.
what was that was
Yeah.
really it. It was just like you get to now redo it, and then
Yeah.
you physically splice them back
Yeah.
together. Okay.
and then you would,
Got it.
and then you'd put them on these things called carts, which was like an 8-track tape, which you probably have no clue of either.
I do know
Okay.
about an 8-track, but for listeners, explain
were-
what an 8-track
They're
is.
like a little oblong thing that has tape inside, and
Yep.
it's only a certain length of tape,
Yep. Exactly.
like 60 seconds or whatever. So you would put the 60-second commercial on there, and then when you are on air, you plug those into a machine, and that's where the
Okay.
commercials would play
Okay.
from.
So as part of the disc jockey stuff, this was one element. You go in, you record the commercials. That's a side.
Afterwards,
What
yeah.
else? What else other than queuing up the songs and that sort of stuff?
Well, you did.
Were you taking calls back then at that point,
Yeah,
or was
you
that
would take
too
calls.
early? Okay.
Yeah. You
What
would
what
take-
year are we
the
talking? We're talking
telephones
like
weren't
19.
invented back then,
Yeah, I mean, since you're a dinosaur,
Yeah, I
I
know.
just I didn't know. We had to add some context there. But is this like 1975? You said you're
76 was my first radio job.
Okay, you're 20. You were born in 55.
Yeah, I
You know,
was-
back before the dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
then
Wow,
so-
now they know how old I am.
oh, he's been aged. Okay.
So
All right, so
1976,
76.
yeah.
All right, that gives us kind of some frame.
So you do events, you'd go out.
Was
and
this
do
in
personal
California?
events.
You were out in
Yeah,
California.
Visalia.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was Visalia. Okay.
So then in radio back then, to move to a larger station, you would get good at this small. You always start at small stations for the most part,
Okay.
and then you would work your way up.
Yeah.
So every couple of years you'd move. When I first got to KONG, the sales manager said, "Buy a trailer."
Buy
Because you
a
were going to be
trailer.
moving a lot
Oh.
if you wanted to stay in radio.
Yeah.
And I did.
You
In-
bought a trailer?
In 12 years, no, I didn't.
Oh.
But in 12 years, I moved 5 times.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Like
all
every
all
other
through
year.
California.
No, so I started in Visalia, then I moved back to San Jose and worked at a station there, a news station.
Okay.
And then I was laid off from that, so I was out of work for about 6 months. Then I got a job in Medford, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Which is just over the border in Oregon. Worked there for a couple of years, and then moved back to Los Angeles. Worked at a station called XPRS, which is interesting. There was a famous disc jockey named Wolfman Jack.
I've totally heard of that.
Yeah, he was huge.
Was it? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the way he became huge was because he worked on a station that was south of the border in Mexico. He didn't work south of the border, but he worked at it was
airing.
It was an X station, which is what the Mexican call letters started with.
Okay. So meaning it was airing to Mexico as well?
No, for the most part, it only aired
to,
and they had no power limits. In America, there's 50,000. You can only have 50,000 watts. Like WSB is a 50,000 watt radio station.
A radio station can only have 50,000 watts.
And there's only
even
a
today.
few stations that have 50,000 because
that's on the high end.
Yeah, they didn't want them to overlap.
What does that do for them? It gets the reach further.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
AM is AM bounces up. The AM signals bounce up to the cloud or the atmosphere and bounce back.
Yeah.
So you can be broadcasting in Texas on an AM station, but you could be heard in Minnesota.
Interesting. Okay.
Because of the way the signals bounce.
That makes sense.
So Wolfman was on this station that was 150,000 watts. And so it went all over the country.
Forget the 50,000, okay.
People all over the country heard it.
Wow.
That's how he became famous.
Didn't he also either have a cool voice or a cool story or something?
Yeah, he had a very cool voice. He had this laugh.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Not that.
But it was like a wolf.
Cue the laugh.
Cue the laugh. But he was...
Jamie, cue the laugh. Jamie's the technical guy on the Joe Rogan show.
Oh, I thought you were...
No, that's Jacob.
Yes.
Jacob's the producer.
So... Real quickly, I worked at a station called XPRS,
yes.
which is, again, a Mexican signal.
Okay.
It was in Tijuana, but we recorded everything in Los Angeles in the studio.
LA.
It wasn't live. You taped it.
That's rare, though, right?
In those days, it wasn't rare. Now it's rare.
Oh, okay.
And it was only because it was a Mexican... The transmitters were in Mexico.
Got it.
So what we would do is record things in LA. They would ship the tapes, reel-to-reels, via Greyhound bus down to the studios in Tijuana. And then they would play them. So it'd be a couple days before you hear what we recorded. So you couldn't do weather, couldn't do news, couldn't do traffic, none of that because it was delayed.
Well, just to be clear, that would be just about as accurate as the weather people are today.
True.
Even with a 2-day delay. In 2026, they cannot get the weather right.
No.
Anyways, sorry.
I have told you this many times. My next life, I'm going to be a weather person because I'm a man. Because they make a lot of money, they never get fired, and they're usually wrong.
Yeah, they never have to be right. There's no accountability. It doesn't matter. They're like, that was yesterday.
So I worked at XPRS. You never knew if the people working at the transmitter were drunk, so they may get the wrong tape on or whatever. That's why you also couldn't do news.
Was that a regular problem?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So,
okay.
But you could hear the signal. We got letters from Japan. We got letters from Washington State. And, this is transmitted from Tijuana.
Listeners saying they
love the music. It was oldies.
That's interesting.
Okay. That was fun.
So you really wouldn't know what the reach is. You just knew it's going up, it's coming back down, and this is a powerful station.
And it's 150,000 watts.
Whew. Okay.
The two guys so you didn't own the station, you leased time from the Mexican government.
Yeah.
So they would lease nighttime. They leased from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay.
They did a lot of religious shows because they made a lot of money. These
on religious shows?
The ministers would pay them a lot of money to be on their airwaves. So they would have different shows, and then like after midnight, they would do the oldies.
Huh, okay.
Anyway, from LA, I got an opportunity to work for a company called Metro Traffic Control.
Yep.
So I was doing traffic reports from a studio in downtown Hollywood. And after like literally 2 or 3 days, they came to me and said, "So you want to go up in an airplane and start doing traffic from an airplane?" I was like, "Sure."
Sure. How old were you at that point?
I was like 22.
Yeah, I'd be like, heck yeah, I want to go on an airplane.
So twice a day, we'd fly around LA in an airplane. and do traffic reports.
Okay. Twice a day, is that what you
Twice a
said?
day in the
Got it.
morning drive and afternoon drive.
Were you
'cause that's
were you taking off from LAX or was that too big?
no, we were
There's a
taking
small
off from
sub airport
Van
somewhere.
Nuys, I think.
Got it. Van Nuys. Yeah.
So I did that for about 3 weeks, and then the president of the company calls me one day. I'll tell you about him real quick. in a minute. And he says, "Hey, there's an opening in Atlanta. The general manager's resigned. You want to move to Atlanta and run the traffic operation there?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah?
I was living with my grandmother's, and
That's a powerful call to get.
yeah, so I said, "Sure." So I, like 10 days later, moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
It's funny, I was watching, CNN had just launched. So this is 1980. Well, no, 1982.
CNN had just launched.
Yeah, they launched in 82, maybe 81. So I was watching CNN headline news in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and there was this snow jam, this huge snow fell in Atlanta.
Uh-oh.
And I'm watching, and all these people are parking their cars on thousands of cars were left
Deserted on the
freeways.
highway. Yeah.
And people walked home. It took people 10 hours to get home driving. And I'm watching this going, what a bunch of morons. And then I get the call from the boss saying, hey, you want to move to
Hey, you
Atlanta?
want to move
It's
to
like,
Atlanta? No. But it's so perfect in LA. The weather's phenomenal.
Exactly. So I moved to Atlanta. Real quickly, David Saperstein is the
that's
name of the guy that owned
the
the
president that called you.
of Metro Traffic.
Okay.
He was from Baltimore. He had been in the snow one day in a traffic jam listening to traffic reports, and they were doing them from a studio, and he thought, why aren't people on the roads, giving reports? So he started this traffic company in Baltimore.
Oh,
And
so he thought
where
of the
you would
need
have
for...
people on the streets
Interesting.
reporting.
Yeah.
And started, it did well, and then he moved to Los Angeles and Texas and some other cities. So that's how I ended up getting hooked up with him. He eventually sold the company to, it wasn't iHeart, it was another one, I forget.
Another one of the big boys.
Westwood One.
Okay. Never heard of them.
They're another huge, or used to be a huge
Probably
company.
been gobbled up since then.
So he sold them for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oof.
I looked him up not long ago, and he ended up moving to Texas, and he's growing Christmas trees.
Now
And
he
he's
is?
old. I mean, he may be dead by now, but
Yeah, just easy. money.
he and his wife, who was a Swedish airline flight attendant, he met her on a flight.
On a flight, yeah.
They sold their house in Beverly Hills after they got divorced. It was the most expensive house in Beverly Hills at the time, $79 million.
Back
And this
in
is
what year?
20 years ago, probably.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say. Yeah, before the prices were what they are now.
Yeah, so he made a little bit of money on the
Just
traffic
a
company.
little bit. Okay.
So I moved to Atlanta. I'm the general manager, so I have to hire people. I have to do all that.
So the role was to move, but not just to move, but to come run the place here
Run
in
the place,
Atlanta.
yes.
Got it.
As well as be the anchor.
And what was the station here? What was that called?
It was called Metro Traffic,
Oh, okay.
So we
it's
were
still
an
under the
entity.
Metro Traffic header.
and we contracted with stations to do their traffic.
Ah, got it.
So I did traffic on 10 stations back then.
Oh, I never knew that was
It
how
was
it worked.
on
Okay.
all the top stations at the time: Z93, WQXI.
Hopefully we have some old listeners because
Yeah, I
that
hope
would be
so.
good. They'll get some value here. Be like, I know that radio station. I
Yeah.
remember hearing him on the radio.
We never did it on WSB. That was one station we never had because they had their own helicopter.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
a big budget sort of place
They're a
probably doesn't.
50,000 watt. And
Uh-huh.
So they were like they were used to be called the Mouth of the South
The
because
mouth of the
you
South.
could hear them all over the southeast, even up into the north.
I'm gonna refrain and
Yes.
not go down that avenue.
WSB supposedly stood for Welcome South Brother.
Okay, got it.
I don't know if it's
Interesting.
true or not.
So about 10 stations. You
Yep.
were the new GM of this location, and basically how it worked was people would contract y'all because that was cheaper than
Yes.
hiring somebody to go fly a helicopter
Yep.
and do the reporting and all that
Yep.
themselves. So you did it for a bunch of places, but it wasn't just traffic, right? So you were GMing this,
Correct.
but you were also flying in the helicopter, literally. How did you do the rest of it, of running the station?
So we did we did traffic all day, but morning and afternoon drive are always the top spots for. That's when the most people are on the road.
For traffic,
Yeah,
yeah.
for traffic.
But that wasn't all. That wasn't your only role.
No, but I would fly we didn't have a helicopter when I got here.
Sure.
Didn't have anything. They had cars, units. We call them units.
Those were the in the street
Yes.
people per the
They would
idea
have
of the
two-way
president.
radios. Yeah.
Yep. What was the president's name again?
David Saperstein.
So David Saperstein said, "Hey, look, this makes sense to me. Why wouldn't we have people on the ground?"
Yeah.
So then y'all did that, and then helicopter was next phase.
No, a plane actually was the next phase.
Oh, okay. Plane and then eventually helicopter
Yes.
because it was more mobile and probably less turnarounds, all that sort of
And it's expensive. Helicopters are really expensive.
Yes, they are.
And so...
For anybody wondering,
Yes.
I have done about 5 hours of helicopter school. It averages for a good helicopter, not a tiny one, 600 to 800 per hour, including the instructor.
Yeah.
So it'll cost you
A boatload.
on the safe side
Or a
about
helicopter.
50. Yeah, it'll cost you about a helicopter. Not quite 50 to 60, 65 grand would be turnkey done at the end of the day, and it'd probably still take you a year depending on your availability. But anyways.
So I would fly in the morning, the afternoon. All right. At the time, we have the units, so they would report in. We'd get they'd call in. Oh, I've got an accident, and then we'd record them on air. Or we'd record them telling us about the accident. We even had a guy in the Peachtree Plaza. You know what the Peachtree Plaza is?
Of course.
So there was a guy up there.
Just up looking out the window?
Yeah, he would walk around and look out with his binoculars.
So wait, is the Peachtree Plaza what's now the Westin?
Yes, it's round, the round building down.
Is that Westin?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Used to be called the Peachtree Plaza.
And a quick avenue here. It spins, or it used to spin, and then there was a tragedy.
Yeah, a kid
got caught in the spinning
part.
room, like in the back room somehow, and they stopped the spinning. But it used to spin very, very, very slow.
It was very slow.
But it's called the sundial. And is it still called the sundial, or did they really? Okay. So it was the sundial, and it would spin very, very slow, and it was either 2 or 3 stories that were spinning, and it was a restaurant on the inside.
And
it's still a restaurant.
70-story building.
Yeah, it's a circular building at the top, but now they don't do the spinning anymore. You can still go look at the views and get dinner and all that, but since that tragedy, I think they got sued into oblivion, but they're a big brand. So.
But there is an observation deck too.
Yes.
Where you can just walk around.
But the restaurant's like in the center, and then there's an observation deck. Yeah. So for anyone wondering, you can go get great views, great meal from the sundial. I guess you could just look it up on Google Maps or whatever. But
so we had a guy up there
that was a branch. Yep.
Too.
Yep. And that helped for calling in reports on traffic because that has a clear view of 85 south,
the connector, all of that.
The connector, depending on where you were.
Looking south, looking west.
Okay.
East.
So that was just one element in how you guys got one of your ground folk reporting.
So then eventually we got an airplane. And
What kind of airplane?
It was a Cessna 172, I think.
So another spinoff. I love skydiving, and I still have not. Yeah, right. Really, I still have not jumped out of a Cessna, but we do have one up at the drop zone, and only a few people can be in it. Like I think maybe three passengers and then the pilot, and that would be like fully loaded.
Yeah.
Everybody's on top of each other, so they don't go up as high, but they do have that for like Fridays when they're not a bunch of jumpers out there. The rest of the time they're on a King Air. You know,
right?
You've seen a King Air, really fast. But I'll stop with the tangent.
So I would fly twice a day in the airplane. I didn't fly it. I had a pilot. But I did learn to fly eventually.
Yeah.
Because we would do a cluster of reports for all the 10 stations, and then we'd have 10, 15 minutes before we did the next cluster.
Yeah.
So I always flew with a flight instructor for whatever reason. And they said, hey, you want to learn how to fly? And I was like, sure. So they let me fly, and then we do touch and goes at different airports around the city. And
That's
so
awesome.
I eventually soloed and got my license. And
from then to when you got your license, what was the discrepancy in time? Took you a few years, or you rushed?
Probably about a year
Oh,
and
so
a
you
half.
did it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Got to it.
Took a flight school.
For anyone who's wondering, getting your pilot's license is definitely easier than the helicopter's license. And cheaper.
Yes.
Yep.
Still expensive.
But you know, the way I think about flying a helicopter is it's almost like playing the drums, because you have to be doing multiple things at once
Right.
to keep it the way you want it.
Absolutely.
So you have your foot
You got it,
pedals,
yeah.
which are going to control your left to right, and you want to stay stable. You got to keep your foot pedals a certain way, and then you have your joystick. I know that's not the proper term for it, to lean and to go forward or lean backward, but you're also doing the feet at the same time. So
and you also have a collective.
Exactly.
What does that do?
The collective makes you go up or down.
Oh, okay.
So the collective also controls on it. If you twist the collective, it controls the RPMs of the rotor.
Gotcha.
And so that is if you twist it, and if you go up or down, it controls whether you lift or go down. Then you can have your joystick to lean in all directions, and you're also then doing the foot pedals to make sure that you don't, like if you were to just hit one of the foot pedals hard, you're going to start spinning, spinning. And then when you even them out, you're fine. But that's like 4 elements right there at the same time. So when I think about it, I think of like it's complex like the drums, because a drummer is going to have, something down here, and then they have a different rhythm up here, and then something else. So it's not easy.
No. Flying airplane's much easier.
Yeah, but anyways, they're both fun. Totally would encourage both of them if anybody's ever interested in that. But anyways, you got your license pretty quick, but that didn't mean you then started flying the airplanes for them.
No,
right?
no.
You kept your radio gig and calling out the traffic.
Yeah, so I would do the morning, afternoons, and then during the day, between the rush hours, I was doing all the general manager stuff. So hiring people, doing all the paperwork.
Were these normal business hours, or was it like you were hustling and you had, 80-hour weeks and they were kind of crazy? Or
I probably had 50, 60-hour weeks.
And you were just salary, no OT, no overtime. Yep.
No, but I did get perks, like if I could get a lease on a car for somebody, I could get my own car.
That's an interesting thing we should talk about. Talk about how you used to do trades. Bartering. So bartering used to be a big thing in radio. Talk about that, because people probably have no clue that this went on.
A lot of the way the radio stations paid Metro traffic was giving them airtime.
Yes.
Which is valuable. That's all a radio station has, 24 hours, a day. So they would give some airtime to Metro traffic. So they had all this airtime from all these stations. Obviously, back in those days, the Z93s or the Quick Cs was more expensive airtime than the other stations. So we would take that airtime and trade it for things. Vehicles we needed, airplane time.
And you were allowed to do this as a part of the president or whoever. They said, this is okay with us.
Yep.
So then it was up to you to do the bartering too. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I did a lot of the sales, getting the trades.
What are some examples of like a cool way that it worked out for both parties? In exchange for airtime, what did you get? What were some perks you guys negotiated?
We would get vehicles.
Okay, vehicles.
We would get restaurants, so we could take clients.
So
restaurant,
like a credit at a restaurant meeting.
Restaurants, yeah. You'd hand them a card. It was your barter card. And
so you're part of a club, a group.
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
And I got a lot of perks out of it too. We'd get, I could use it for hotels.
Yeah.
And
a lot of benefits.
Limousines or whatever. Yeah. So that was fun. Cool. Yeah. That was fun. So I learned how to fly.
Yep, learned how to fly. GM.
And then we started helicopters, and I would fly around in helicopters because none of my employees wanted to fly. That's why I ended up doing it.
Oh, really?
They
were terrified of heights?
Yeah, none of them wanted to fly. So that's why
that sounds like our producer, Jacob.
Oh, really?
He's scared to fly. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that jumps out of planes?
No, how many times you been, Jacob?
Twice.
He's been twice. But he had been saying for a long time he was going to start to solo, and here we are like a year or two later. He's blushing for the camera. You can't see him. He's blushing right now. Yeah. But anyways, I won't give you too much.
Camera only.
Anyways.
So it was cool flying around in helicopters.
And what kind of helicopter were y'all in?
It was a Robinson 22.
Oh, so
R22.
Okay, so for perspective on what I said earlier, $600 to $800 an hour to do the flight and all that was with like an R44,
which is a 4-seater.
Which is a 4-seater. That's the mid tier, and then there's an R66 above that. So you were and
the small.
Those are small.
Yeah,
like I am claustrophobic in an R22.
Yeah,
those are uncomfortable. But if that doesn't bug you, and it sounds like it didn't, you were living your life, so that's great.
We would fly up and we usually flew for about an hour and a half.
Were you leaving from Peachtree to Cab Airport every time?
Yeah. fly out of there, and it was cool. We'd fly over the freeways and look at accidents, and we'd fly up Georgia 400, and then we'd get up to Holcomb Bridge. Because back in the day, if you're listening to this from Atlanta, coming down Georgia 400 stopped at I-285, which is the perimeter that goes around Atlanta. You had to either go one way or the other to get downtown. You couldn't go straight.
Yeah, you're saying 400 north past the perimeter, which is 285, was not there at that time.
Inside the perimeter wasn't there.
Got it.
Yeah. So you'd come down from like Holcomb Bridge.
Oh, so the 400 outside of the perimeter was there?
Was there, but
then the inside was not.
No.
Weird. When did they tear through Buckhead and all that?
Probably the late 80s.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, so that's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So you were flying all over, and then...
So traffic back in the day on 400, if you're coming down 400 and you were backed up to Holcomb Bridge,
oof,
that was horrible.
Oh, gosh.
Now it backs up another 20 miles, but we'd fly up Holcomb Bridge, and then we'd get to the Chattahoochee, and we'd follow the Chattahoochee back to 285, and we'd be like 300 feet above the Chattahoochee.
That's so cool.
And that was cool. We'd have our doors
That's what's
off,
amazing about helicopters is
Yeah.
the ability to fly close to the ground
Yeah.
and close to obstructions without being impeded. In airplanes, you could do that, but it's very different.
Yeah.
It's much more flexible with a helicopter.
Yeah. So,
So that was it on the flying front, and then what about the rest from a GM front? Are you managing employees every day? How many? What does that look like? You said you're putting in 50 to 60-hour weeks.
Yeah. So I was managing. We had probably 7 or 8 employees.
Okay.
We had anchors in the middays. We had people that were driving cars. We had producers. So I managed all of that. I would also manage the sales, finding new sponsors, finding trade companies. If we needed equipment,
there were a lot of elements that you were responsible for.
There was a lot of elements. And
were you being compensated fairly?
I would say I was being compensated fairly, but I wasn't making boatloads of money.
Okay.
And then in the mid-'80s, he had moved from Baltimore, David, to Houston. And so the headquarters of Metro had moved to Houston. He wanted me to move to Houston in the late 80s, and I had met your mom, and she didn't want to move, and I didn't want to move, so I ended up leaving Metro Traffic after about 5 years of running it.
Got it. Okay.
I still did traffic from time to time.
Because what he said, it's like either go or that's it.
He wanted me to move there and be a regional president, but I wasn't going to make that much money. Your mom was on air here, and it didn't make sense.
So I guess the natural extension of this is how I met your mother. She was in radio here in Atlanta, but maybe you can add some additional context. And just to be clear, they're not together anymore. Nope. He's got a new, I say new wife, but how long have you been married to Dawn?
7 years.
7 years, okay. So remarried, happier than ever, If you had not lived that original phase of life, your boy would not be here. Yep. I would not exist. Yeah. Or my brother. Yep. So everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Very interesting how that pans out.
Yep.
But just maybe an interesting story would be kind of brushing on, how you came across Mom in, radio and in Atlanta, because she didn't originally come from here either.
No, she was from Sarasota.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great story. So I moved to Atlanta. I was doing traffic on 10 stations. She had moved up from Florida and was doing news on a station called Ring Radio, WRNG, which is where, again, if you're old, Neil Bortz got his start. So she was doing news there, and she would introduce me to do traffic on her newscasts.
Oh.
So I would come in and I'd do the traffic, and
they were one of, like, let's call it the 10 radio stations that you guys were subbing to. Okay.
Yep. So we'd hear each other, but we never had met. And then we met somewhere at I think it was some event we met, and kind of,
and that's all she wrote. Wow.
Well, we literally met on air.
I was going to say, there's got to be another element to that. So you met on air, and then what led you guys to meet up in person? It was, hey, I like your voice. Your voice sounds so cool. Or...
No, I think, and maybe she knows different, but
there was no Instagram. You couldn't pull up her Insta and be like, wow, she's cute.
No, we just met at a radio event or something.
Okay,
and,
got it.
Kind of connected. And
Yeah, and then
decided that
and
was
then
it.
on a regular basis, you guys had to be involved because
Yeah.
you guys were running the traffic for them.
Right,
Got it.
right.
Okay.
So yeah, we literally met on air. We heard each other first.
So after let's drop that story and we'll move
Yep.
on. After the Atlanta disc jockey stuff, and you were really a GM, I guess less of a disc jockey,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't
At that time.
Yes.
Okay.
At that time, so when I left Metro, I got one of the radio stations we did traffic for was called Peach.
Yeah.
WPCH was in now the Bull. The general
9-4-9.
9
The
to
bull.
4-9, yes.
The bull.
The program director called me and said, "Hey, I'd really like you to be on air over here." So I started doing weekends over there,
Okay.
Saturday mornings,
Got it.
and I did that for the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But when you were born, I ended up getting out of radio completely, and acting and everything else. I was doing during that time. I was also doing a lot of TV commercials, a lot of industrial films, a lot of theater because I loved acting. So I was doing a lot of that, but it's sporadic.
I was gonna say, so what made you go that route? It was to then provide for what your family was.
Yes, I needed to make a regular income.
Okay.
Working one day on the radio and doing acting was not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So
no, it definitely wouldn't.
It's one of those things you fall into, totally by accident. I left radio. I got a job at a billboard company because back then billboards were huge, not as big as they are now. They're not as big now as they were then, probably.
Yeah. No.
So I sold billboards for a year, and that was fun. It was interesting. The guy that was our manager was a complete crazy person.
At the billboard
company. He calls us in one day, and he would have sales meetings, and he would scream at us. I mean, can I say that word?
Yeah.
You fucking sons of bitch! Why aren't you selling more? I need you to sell. I mean,
so he was a terrorist. He was acting crazy.
So one of the meetings,
were you guys that far off sales, or was he just wild?
He was just wild. He was
okay.
nuts.
Yeah, there's people like that for sure.
So he calls us in one day and he fires 3 of us out of the 4.
Great.
He got fired the next week, I will say. So there is karma in the world.
I was about to say karma comes full circle. There's no question.
And so one of my customers was a company that had a promotional products company, which is logo stuff with logos. And they had said to me one time when I was calling them for billboards, "Hey, if you ever want a job, let me know." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. I'm going to sell pens with logos on them." So they were the first people I called when I got fired. And I started selling promotional products.
Wait, who was it that you did? Say that again.
It was one of my customers.
Oh, it was
for
one of
billboards.
the customers for billboards. Okay, and what company was that?
It was called the Dean Cooper Company.
Oh, I didn't even know about this one.
They were a manufacturer's rep for electronics, but they had a side business of promotional products.
Okay.
And so I was selling billboards to the electronics side because they rep Fujifilm back in the day. But the guy from the promotional products company liked me, and he's the one that called and said, "Hey, you want a job?" So I ended up starting to sell promotional products in 1986. No, 1986, 87, something like that.
And so that was leading up to when Zach, my older brother, was born.
He was born in 92.
So obviously that was probably not planned 6 years in advance, but you knew you were leaning toward having a family, and that was why you then were like, okay, maybe a stable career in this sense.
Yeah, and I also didn't want to be an old disc jockey. I knew a lot of old disc jockeys. And it's one of those things... Well, it's one of those things where you reach the peak, I knew a guy here in Atlanta. We were all good friends. He was, back in the day, the top disc jockey in Atlanta. And then it just, started.
And then he stayed so long that he just ruined his
Bobby Harper,
his
if
aura.
you've ever heard of him. His name was Skinny Bobby Harper. And so I didn't want to be an old disc jockey.
Skinny Bobby Harper?
Because he was skinny. And that was his
Obviously.
on-air moniker. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's facetious, but
that's
like
true.
That word, facetious.
I do. Hey, good word. We were talking about vocabulary earlier and how we love when each other use big words. We sound more sophisticated than we are.
So that's one of the reasons I got out of radio. I just didn't want to end up like old disc jockeys.
Yeah.
And so
burnt. Is that
yes.
that burnt?
And that's true of other industries too.
Is that a saying nowadays? Burnt.
Burnt. Burnout.
Is that
Burned out?
no burnt?
I'm burnt. Yeah.
Burnt. Yeah, that's the right use of it though.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you guys are a different generation.
People in the know.
You're my generation. He's the up and coming. Right? What are you? Are you a Gen Z? What are we? What generation?
You're Gen Z. You're actually the end of millennial.
Okay, so I'm a millennial. Was Gen Z's after?
Yes.
So are you a Gen Z? Okay. So for perspective, our producer is 20 years old. He's a Gen Z. So that's why I got to verify
20?
when I use.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Older than 20.
Well, stud.
Wow.
That's why when I say burnt, I think that's a kid's term these days. So I got to ask the kid. You know what I'm saying? He's a grown adult. He's a big man. I respect Jacob a lot, but I got to verify, make sure my lingo's up to date because we got to be cool, right?
Yeah,
we got to be cool.
Cool.
Okay, so got it. So then you're in your career, and that was the beginning of probably what was not your favorite thing for a chunk of your life, I assume, right? We're promotional products. I've had coffee, but not enough. I would usually have more, but we're doing the podcast, to be clear. Were promo products the passion of your life, or was it tolerable, or what did that career look like? Because, it's different when you then start to shift your mindset to I need to provide for my family, and I need to make money, and it needs to be stable, but that doesn't always come with it being a passion.
Right.
And I'm sure not many people are out there like, promo products are my passion, because it's just not something you would gravitate toward as a kid when you're dreaming, right?
Yeah.
So,
I want
however,
rulers with a logo on it.
Yeah.
When I get up
I mean, promo products are putting a logo on basically anything in existence, any material out there in existence.
Yeah.
So what did that look like? Was it better in the beginning, the middle, the end, or by the end of it you were like, get me out of this career? What did that look like?
I never wanted to be in sales. Ever. In radio, when I first got to the first radio station, KONG, the sales manager said, hey, you should be in sales. I'm like, I don't want to sell. I want to be a famous disc jockey. I always hated sales. And I think it's because I'm shy. I'm introverted, and so I didn't want to be in sales. So I got into promotional products in sales because that's what you did.
So it was uncomfortable in the beginning.
It was uncomfortable. I got better at it. I took a lot of classes like you have in different things. Went to see Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and all these sales gurus.
Oh, did you do all that?
Oh, yeah.
In person?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. When was your first Tony Robbins event?
It was probably in the late 90s.
I don't think I ever
mid
heard
to late
this.
90s, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So he was a young gun at that point, but he's been the guy for a while.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, he's always been tapped in, and I think he wasn't a protege of Zig Ziglar, was he? Who was he under? I feel like he had some big mentors in his life, but I'm not sure.
I don't recall.
Yeah, but regardless, Zig Ziglar is kind of like the Napoleon Hill of that sort of stuff.
Earl Nightingale. I used to listen to cassette tapes because that's what they were at the time.
Cassette tapes.
I would listen to Earl Nightingale and Zig Ziglar and all these motivational people on cassette tapes.
Which are tremendous, and I think a lot of that is universal.
Yeah.
Timeless principles, and I would say to anybody who has not gone down that route, listening to books like that.
Yes.
Even though they talk about manifestation and things that are invisible and harnessing an intangible power, I could tell you for me, those are what I listen to the most over the decade that I like to say I was getting kicked in my nuts every day in the business because it sucked and I didn't know the path out.
Yeah.
But I would listen to those books on repeat.
Yeah.
And I may have told you this recently. I'm going to have to go into Audible and check how many listens, but easily in the hundreds for both books.
Yeah.
And I think one of them I have listened to in the thousands.
Yeah.
And so that's how often they were on replay.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, you don't, and this is actually talked about in Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. He says when you listen to a book, you don't pick up on everything the first time because as soon as you get something exciting or a tinge of information in that book that is appealing, your brain then goes off on a tangent and focuses on that, and you miss what's being said over the next however long that you're focused on that topic.
Yeah.
So re-listening to stuff is great.
Yeah.
Another way for people to consume that information and let it soak in would be to also read the book while they listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really done that, but I have heard that that's a great way for people to really soak things in, is to read it while listening. And the whole point is that this develops your subconscious mind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
your subconscious mind is what makes decisions for you
Mm-hmm.
when you don't actively think about it. And so if you can build that up with the reiteration and re-listening to books like that, I just think it's so powerful. And I'm getting goosebumps right now, actually. It's kind of weird. I think that's a big thing. Later in life, you're going to appreciate the fact that you trained your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And for me, it's starting to click right now. And this is 12 years since I started listening to those type books.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a short process, but
Nope.
you're investing in yourself for the long run. So obviously that's a full tangent, but I feel like all that was kind of important for people to know.
I would definitely say, if you're in anybody should be listening to motivational
Yeah.
books.
You got to get past the cheesiness and the
Lessons.
corniness. You know,
Absolutely.
if you're a person who wants to be cool and whatever, you're probably going to listen to these and be like, this is kind of goofy.
Yep.
But then you need to let it soak in that this is literally going to change your life. And if you start to believe that and have faith in that, I do know for a fact that from my own personal life, it's true. It'll
Yeah.
start to come to fruition sooner or later.
Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale probably are my two favorites.
Those are the top two. And
Yeah.
for anybody wondering, Earl Nightingale has got the voice of God.
He does.
Literally.
Very, very.
It's incredible. And as soon as you listen to the first few minutes, you're going to be like, if nothing else, I just want to listen to
Yeah.
this guy talk. And maybe he can talk me to sleep. I'll just I'll put him next to me in my bed and let him talk. Because he just sounds like the voice of God. It's a very
does.
deep voice. And he was really tall too, wasn't he? He was like a
Yeah.
big dude.
6 something.
Upper 6'4" or something.
Yeah.
Some, and he had something called
Oh yeah.
gigantism or
Yes.
gargant.
It would make certain parts of your body grow bigger. I
Yeah,
think.
grow
Like
bigger
his
and
hands
faster
and-
disproportionately. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I think it's gigantism. But that really affected him in his later life.
Yes.
Gigantism is a rare condition in children caused by an overproduction of growth hormone resulting in abnormal and excessive height. But for him, I do know that it was a thing
hands,
later
I
in
think,
life,
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
That really messed him up because like parts of his body were outgrowing others, which is just that is
Very
wild to
odd.
think about.
So.
So those books are important. What was the
Absolutely.
whole point? Why were we talking about that? It was just
well, I
your-
was telling you, I went to seminars and things like that.
yeah.
back in the day,
Okay,
and
so we were
that's
talking about that.
how I got better at sales because I hate it.
Got it.
I
Sales.
still shy away from sales, although I will say everybody is in sales. Doesn't matter what you do. Mothers are in sales because they're trying to sell their kids on being good, on doing this,
That's
doing
true.
their homework or whatever.
That's true.
Everybody's in sales. And so learning how to use that skill is important, I think.
Yeah,
for any
regardless
aspect
of
life.
what avenue of life you're
Yeah.
in, and it doesn't even literally need to be sales or business.
Mm-mm.
Like you said, mother selling her kid on eating the right food.
Yeah, or doing homework.
Or selling
whatever.
them and phrasing and how you present it because there's
Absolutely.
a way that's more palatable for the kid
Yeah.
than hey, eat your vegetables.
Get your damn
Eat your
homework
vegetables.
done, yeah.
Or back then for you it'd be like, or you get a wood paddle.
Well, no. The thing back when I was a kid was, what about all the starving children in China?
Oh wow, y'all pulled that on me too a couple times. Maybe you weren't selling me then, but you were like, yeah, how would a starving
Yeah.
kid? And we were like, well, by the time he got the food delivered to him, I think
Yeah,
it would be
it would be
rotten.
rough.
So actually, your logic is flawed. But yes, we should think about and have concern for those
Yep,
kids.
yep.
Interesting.
So-
okay, so that was sales, and that was a
34
30-some
years.
freaking career.
34 years. I was on what they call the distributor side. There's distributors in promotional products. They're the ones that sell to companies, sell the logo products to companies. And then there's the suppliers, which were the manufacturers of the products. So
Yep.
I worked on the distributor side for 29 years. Then I went on the supplier side for 5 years
So wait, say that again. Distributor is before or after supplier?
before.
Okay. Yep.
29
Supplier
years.
is the third party, basically, smaller
Yes,
scale.
you're buying the stuff from.
Distributor is the wholesaler, the big boy.
Yep.
Got it.
So in April of 2020, COVID hit, and I was let go. along with about 50 other people at my company.
Which, by the way, everybody everywhere was being let go. Even competent people, they were just like, oh God, we're going to go out of business if we don't mass fire.
Yeah. So that was the end of my second career, radio being the first, promotional products being the second.
But the timing also kind of aligned.
It did, because Dawn and I, Dawn's my wife, we had been working on creating Marvelous Moosey.
Yep.
Moosey to you.
Moosey to me. Moosey to me.
Which was a plush moose with blue hooves.
Well, we might as well talk about it.Hy don't you pull out the kit there, and then we'll see. This will be kind of a whole separate episode for sure, because, we're going to have Dawn on, his wife, my stepmom. They're passionate about this. This is their brainchild, their business, and I really like it, and I'm actually about to get involved with it, pending some finalization. But why don't you give kind of the spiel, and let's do it in an elevator style format, in terms of explanation, and you can show the camera too what the product looks like, and explain what this is and what it comes in.
So Marvelous Moosey is basically a moose with blue hooves, and he has blue hooves because that makes him unique and marvelous. And the whole point of this was to help kids and adults understand that being unique and marvelous isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. If you have freckles, if you have red hair, if you have a different skin color, you have autism, that doesn't make you a horrible person. That makes you unique, and you should be proud of that. So that was the whole point of creating Moosey. My wife says I blow my nose like a moose, so I guess that's
he does. I can verify.
The idea of a moose came from.
It is the loudest thing I've ever heard. But yes, you sound like a moose.
So we came up with the concept, and we decided we wanted to package him, and I didn't want to just have a box. So we created this package, which looks like an old-time suitcase. It's got a little strap. Back in the day,
you got a handle, and then you got all these little...
and people used to put stickers
I was about to say, back in the day,
suitcases.
People would put stickers all over, so that's what that resembles.
So these are
and we got
Moosey
locations.
in different places he's been.
Each of these, by the way, has a moose in them somewhere.
Yes.
I think except for maybe one that says... Oh, even that one, in the Atlanta one.
Yeah.
So Moosey is in each one of these. He's at Venice, he's in Atlanta, he's at Australia.
Over here, Hawaii,
he's got a sombrero on. What's he doing down here? Viva Mexico!
Viva
there we
Mexico,
go. He's got a what are those things called?
Marachis.
Okay.
I think.
Or a maraca. Yeah, maraca. Thanks, Elise.
And actually, Anne, our daughter-in-law, Zach's, his brother's wife.
My brother's wife is a graphic
helped
designer,
design this, yes.
and she also developed my logo for Woodburn Landscapes. She is the goat of graphic design.
Yep.
I do have to follow up with her incessantly sometimes. However, that doesn't mean she's not
Hopefully
amazing.
She's not watching this.
No, I mean, hey, I have nothing but amazing things to say about Anne, but Anne,
she is amazing.
Anne, be a little more punctual. That's it. I love you to death. But yeah, she designed all this for you, and it looks phenomenal. I mean, this is a suitcase, we're calling it.
Yeah, his
so
case.
you could hold it,
We
right? You got
trademarked the name.
so you when a kid gets this, you see them, they're like, what? They're like 2 feet tall.
Yeah,
a little squirt walking around with just a unit of a suitcase, but it's got Moosey, and maybe you could open it up and talk about it. But
so you open it up, and again, we didn't want it just to be a case, so we did packaging, or we did things inside to make it interactive. So here has all the state capital, all the states listed.
Yeah.
And kids can write in the names of the capitals as they learn them.
The point is to travel with Moosey.
Yes,
and for him to be a companion.
Yep. For families to make memories. Travel with Moosey together, take pictures, make memories, post it on social media. So this is Moosey. His little horn, he's pissed.
I was going to say, they're bent.
That's like when cats get mad or dogs. But that's Moosey. He's got blue hooves. Max had a great idea, and this is back when... he remembered about Toy Story. He said, well, Andy wrote...
was that my idea?
Yeah, it was. Andy wrote his name on the bottom of Woody's shoe, so we put Moosey's name here embroidered on the back of his hoof so people would remember.
That's awesome that I said that and I don't even remember.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. So that's Moosey. And then we said, well, we don't want to just have a moose. You got to have more than that. So we ended up writing a book about him. It's called... Marvelous Moosey's Adventures Begin, and it's a story about him leaving the forest to go out in the world and find other moose that look like him with blue hooves.
And that's our long-term plan here
Yes.
is we would love for this to have such an impact that kids can start to see each other toting their little suitcases around and go,
Absolutely.
that's a moose! It's a
Absolutely.
moosey! And that could be from different states while they're traveling or across the world. I mean,
Yeah.
we would love to have that type of reach in the long run. But anyway, so you got a book here.
We
Is
didn't
this number?
illustrate it.
Is this number one?
It's number one.
Number one.
We didn't illustrate it because it would be stick moose, but we did write the book.
Because you can't draw, is that what you're
Because
saying?
we can't draw, yes. So that's Moosey in there. This is his friend Winston the owl, and Winston's the wise old owl that.
We had you had a gentleman named Tao who was the illustrator.
Yes, he lives in Brazil, and he did the illustrations.
And by the way, it's pretty hard to communicate with people who aren't fluent in English when you're trying to explain how to build a concept.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a lot of back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But
he did a great job. So we had him do our second book, which is Moose, and we created additional characters. So we've got Winston the owl. He was in the first book. We've got Emmy the frog, and they all have something that makes them unique and marvelous. So Emmy, she's got great big legs, but she doesn't jump very well. So she has to ride on Moosey a lot. Roxy the rabbit has beautiful long ears, but she doesn't hear very well. Sammy the squirrel, so Sammy, that's a whole other story, but Sammy, we actually have a squirrel that comes to us every day almost.
This is the craziest thing in the world. They have literally trained a wild squirrel to come up to them, hop on their table.
Yeah.
Does he get in your lap too?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the squirrel literally
It's a
gets
she,
gets in their lap, and they will
We give 'em
feed
nuts,
feed her peanuts and so forth. It is the craziest thing. We'll show a video at some point,
But she had a split tail. She still does. She has a split tail.
She is a unique.
Yes, that makes her unique. So that's Sammy the squirrel. And then Fuego the firefly. Fuego stands for fire in Spanish. So that's Sammy the firefly. So we introduced all those characters into this book.
Cool.
And then he also has a map in here of the United States, and it probably should be the world eventually.
Yep.
A map of the world. And he comes with moose print stickers, hoof print stickers, so you can mark where you go.
Mark where you've been.
Or you can put them on your forehead or your nose or whatever you want to do. So that's
Moosey.
Marvelous Moosey. So that's what we got into after I was let go.
What I was gonna say, what was the initial thought impulse that led to this being created, other than you blowing your nose and sounding like a moose? Was it literally that unique in the sense that she heard you, and then, like, where did it tangibly come together?
I honestly, I've tried to remember where we all of a
so
sudden
there wasn't
said,
a clear aha. That's interesting, huh?
But we at first we didn't know what color to make his hooves. We knew we wanted them to be different, and we came up with the blue. And you'll notice too, moose typically are dark, like this color, and they have this color antlers, which are called paddles.
Okay.
And we decided to make that opposite too. So he's totally unique. In fact, in the book, in the first book, and in the second book, we have little Moosey fun facts. So it gives facts about moose.
In general.
Like this one is moose antlers are called paddles.
There we go.
They can grow up to
Turn
6
right to
feet
that
across and weigh 50 to 60 pounds and are shed every year.
I think, this is why I believe in the product. I think that long term we're going to have a serious impact here, because when I was growing up as a kid, it was not acceptable to be unique and different and to lean into it. I like to say lean into things a lot because that's kind of a way for you to overcome fears, is you just got to recognize that you have to lean into something. And I really do say that a lot. But as a kid, you grow up going, I'm different, and it sounds bad, or it seems bad, or you're told that that's bad. And
or
I think
people tell you
that's what I mean. And or you get bullied or something, and that's bullshit. And I think that, and I'm getting some goosebumps again. I call those out because, like, I think it always means I'm talking about something that's important, and that's being in tune with the big man, whatever that might be upstairs, or big woman.
Yep.
The grand spirit, whatever it is.
Yes.
But point being is that if more people learned this as kids, young kids, when they're impressionable, that it's okay to be different. That's the point. That's literally the fucking point of being a human, is to be an individual who's unique and incredible, and as you would say, marvelous. I think that they need to recognize and let that soak in, and the only way to do that would be at a young age to be taught this by their parents or people that they love and recognize as a leader in their lives, or someone with influence over them, a teacher. They have to learn that younger, because I don't remember ever being taught that. And sure, you could tell me at home, but it's not the same as like an impressionable youth who is read this story and they're able to relate to it, and then let it soak in. If I grew up not being scared of what people thought, this would have happened a long time ago.
Right.
This podcast, me being on social media, making some hires, things like that, it would have been a way sped up timeline. And I hope that maybe in the long term we can do that for people. Would be as a kid, they learn this lesson and then they take it with them through life, so they're not tiptoeing around what other people think.
Right.
What other people
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
And that is the biggest. I've been harping on this for a while now recently, because what I'm recognizing is the more I lean into fuck what other people think, and granted, this is a kid's product, so hopefully the kids aren't listening right now.
Oh, we put the word fuck in the book. So.
Oh, yeah, sure. That is not in the book. Let's be clear. But I think that when people recognize that they have to stop giving a fuck what people think, their lives are going to open up and blossom like a freaking flower. They've been hibernating as a bud, and everything gets to bloom when you recognize that it does not matter who and what people think of you. It's just one of the most important lessons that I think too many people don't recognize in their lives, or at least they hear it and it doesn't saturate with them. It doesn't sink in. So I'm excited about that. We're talking about maybe partnering on Moosey to strategically grow it. I have some ideas, but they have the foundation. They put all this extreme hard work into these suitcases and Moosey and the whole idea, and I appreciate and recognize all that. So I'm excited for hopefully the impact it'll have in the long run.
One of the, I think, biggest groups Moosey has had an effect on is kids with autism. We used to sell at festivals for 4 years. We would do festivals all over the Southeast, and that's a lot of work because it was a 2-day thing. You'd set up on Saturday mornings, you'd sell all day, you'd go home, come back the next day, sell all day, and then tear down on Sunday night. So many, and autism, and we didn't realize at the time, autism color is blue.
Oh.
But we had so
What do you mean?
many,
What do you mean autism
that's
color?
their palette.
Okay,
is
got
a
it.
blue.
Interesting.
We had so many families that would buy Moosey, and I remember we were at a festival in Blue Ridge, and we sold a Moosey to a family, and we didn't realize that the son, who was probably 12, 13, had autism. They walked away, they were excited, and the mom came back like 15 minutes later, and she was crying.
Oh.
She said, "I have never seen my son so happy."
Wow.
They just loved Moosey. And we heard these stories all the time from people whose children had autism. Moosey somehow connected with them. So I think that is an area we need to lean into.
I agree.
Well,
those are the kids who generally, A, they're not going to pick up on social cues.
Right.
And then B, they need that reassurance, I think, from a young age, because, kids can be fucking cruel. They can really be cruel.
They're the worst.
Yeah, they can be the best and they can be the worst. And getting bullied and shit like that for something you can't control is so fucked. I mean, it really brings tears to my eyes, because that's bullshit. You know what I mean? And it fucks kids up for life.
Yeah.
And not just on the autism spectrum, but just in general, bullying and pointing out the things that are supposedly flaws that this whole book rephrases and reframes as what I think God intended it to be, is what makes you unique and incredible.
Right.
And those are literally the things you need to lean into, because that's what's going to increase your reach and your impact on life, is you leaning into those special things that make you you. Because we are not all the same. We are absolutely not.
We shouldn't want to be.
No, we shouldn't want to be. We all grow up trying to be like somebody else.
Right.
And, I think back to like Earl Nightingale in one of those books, or maybe it was Napoleon Hill, but they basically say, I think it was Earl Nightingale. He's like, everybody grows up trying to be like someone else. And that person is trying to be like you.
Right.
And so everyone's here playing this goofy game of, be like the other person, when in reality, it's simply lean into your uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to allow you to have the biggest reach, biggest impact, and be just, even barring all that, just be happy,
Yeah.
and accepting of what makes you you.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
So we'll see where Moosey goes. We're excited.
Yeah, we got a big vision. We talked about this the other day, and we got to finalize the details. But
and so, in addition to that, I started getting back into acting and voice work and all of that. So that's what I'm doing now as well.
So I'd say let's take a break.
Yep.
And then we can dive into that as maybe 2.0.
2.0.
Hey, I just want to say a quick thank you for tuning in to the Max podcast. Huge shout out to Gezagoli, Progressive Medical Center, and the Rethink My Health podcast. You have got to tune in to that podcast, as well as look up Progressive. These are amazing humans that run an integrative medicine practice, and they are kind enough to allow us to rent the studio from them. Thank you. Please, guys, check them out. And we're about to be back with the To The Max podcast. Welcome back to the Max podcast. We're here with my father, Steve Woodburn. An extension off the first hour. We are now at the point where we're talking about you retiring
I hate that
from
word.
your career.
Yeah.
But you haven't actually retired. You've now pivoted to what you used to enjoy in the beginning days.
Mm-hmm.
So you did it in your beginning days. Then you had a 30-some year career in promo products, and now you're back to voiceovers, acting, and some of this passion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what you're doing now and how you find it. How you find the gigs, that sort of thing. What kind of hustle you need. You have a little studio at your house. You do filming, so maybe talk about some of that stuff.
So I got back into acting, and after the pandemic, it changed totally, because when I used to do acting back in the 80s and 90s, you would go to casting directors' offices and audition. There'd be a bunch of people auditioning there. And after the pandemic, everything became what they call now a self-tape, meaning you tape yourself auditioning.
Yeah.
But that never used to be a thing. That was never a thing. So
it's just with the improvement of technology, phones, audio, all that, right?
But it pivoted because of the pandemic, I think.
Okay.
Because you couldn't go to casting directors' offices anymore.
Well, it's smart for them, too, because it saves money.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is smart.
They can filter from afar.
So it took a while to learn all that, figure all that out. I had to figure out, what to use camera-wise. I had to buy microphones. I had to buy lights.
For just a quality recording.
Yeah.
To be able to feel confident when you send it out.
Yep. You don't want it to look like crap, because...
pixelated, bad audio, whatever.
Yep. Nowadays, you're competing with so many people. So I do TV commercials. I do what are called industrials, which are like corporate films.
Yep.
I do some voiceover work. I've started doing a lot of what's called UGC, which you and I have talked about. That stands for user-generated content. So the stuff you see on social media, as you're scrolling through, you see ads for products. Most of those are filmed by people filming themselves in their house.
Sure.
The company will give you a script or what they call a brief, and it'll tell you what they want you to film. You'll do B-roll, which is non-vocal stuff, and you send it to them raw, and then they do all the editing and put it together. But I do a lot of UGC, and I enjoy that because I can do it around the house. There's no rush to do it. There's no directors, and when you're on a set, you've got so many people. You've got all the directors, you've got all the camera people, the sound people, the crafts people, the people that are there, the clients.
So just a small amount of stuff involved.
Yeah. I did years ago, I did a 60-second spot for Buick, and it was filmed up in Helen, Georgia.
A year ago?
No, a bunch of years ago.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm thinking of your
Yeah.
original one where you're with the red drop top. Was that
No.
That was oil.
That was print ad for Gulf Oil.
Gulf
Yeah.
Oil, okay. And maybe just add some perspective. Tell people what you did for that. Specifically the Gulf Oil.
So that was a print ad for Gulf Oil, and it was promoting the fact I used Gulf Oil in all my cars from when I was a kid on. And so it showed me standing by a car when I was supposedly, a teenager or whatever, in a tank top and whatever. I looked much better than I, was probably better fit back in those days. And then it showed me standing next to the same car.
Yeah.
20 years later, supposedly.
Oh,
And I had taken care of it because I used Gulf oil.
Okay.
So
that makes sense. So that was that one, and then the Buick one. Tell us about that one.
That was just a commercial for Buick, and it was filmed up in Helen, Georgia at a summer camp. I was supposed to be picking up my kid and bringing him home in my new Buick. And it was interesting because there were probably 100 people at that shoot. You had all the regular people, the camera people, the directors, the this, that, the other. But you also had people that all they did was wash the car, because there were 2 cars and there was a half car. They literally cut a Buick in half so they could film into it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't part of that. I was never in that. But they had people they called car wranglers. All they did was handle the cars. They had people that washed the cars. I mean, there were 100 people there for this 60-second commercial they were making.
Oh my gosh.
I was driving in the rain. There was a scene where I'm driving in the rain. I'm in the car, on a trailer, being pulled by a truck, and there's people in front of me with a hose making it rain.
Making it rain. Literally.
And so, the windshield wipers are going and they're filming me,
Yeah, they really built out those. It's interesting because they look natural and organic in the final product. But when you see how they're actually produced, you're like, wow, this is really the freaking. It's quite the production for that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
100 people for. Yeah, I can't imagine what that would cost.
Oh my gosh,
it
costs.
They're just so expensive.
Millions.
To do such a short ad, but they have the money.
What's the ad generating revenue?
Of course,
wise,
correct. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket
Hundreds
compared
of
to
millions,
that,
yeah.
and that's the same way movies work. People would, produce a $200 million movie and then it makes $1 billion in box office sales.
Or
so.
a $200 million movie that makes $10 million. There are those as well.
That will also happen for sure. So nobody's saying it's a guarantee.
That's right.
They are simply saying that if you use it the right way and you
Yes.
film the right stuff, you should be successful. But that's on you.
Yes.
That's on you. So interesting. Okay, so that was the Buick one, and then talk about maybe as far as the audio stuff you've been doing. You're doing like voiceover work for a podcast. What's the Dubai stuff? Talk about the Dubai stuff.
So I got this job. I get jobs through websites. There's 3 websites that I use every day.
What do you use?
Casting Networks, Actors Access, and Backstage.
If you're into that world or you're looking for gigs, you can battle it out with my dad on those websites, but you're probably not a handsome, white-haired, 70-year-old, so you might not get his roles, but maybe there's roles for you on those platforms.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There are. So that's where I look every day for jobs. I just got a new agent, and she's starting to send me auditions.
And you're on top of it daily.
Yes.
Let this be a note to anybody who doesn't have the real hustle in them. I hopped on there once this week. There was nothing for me, or nothing was. Yeah, you're on there daily.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I find jobs, I'll submit for them, and then if they like you, they'll send you back a note. They want you to do a self-tape.
And then they give you the instructions.
They give you the instructions.
self-tape.
They give you the script.
How to do it.
And how to do it. And you self-tape yourself. You send it in, and maybe you get the job.
And maybe they just never reply.
Exactly. Oh, 99% of the time you never hear back from them, which I think is so rude, but that's just the way it is. When I do get a letter from somebody saying, hey, we just want to let you know we really liked your audition, but we went, a different direction, that's so nice. Yeah. But it's so rare.
Yeah. I mean, in general, this is another thing where in landscaping, I have people that I could have sworn we had the best conversation, we clicked, everything. I was excited about their job and helping them. I think I'm in my era of like, I try and look at people's projects like it's my house, and then I think about what I would do if it were my home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get excited about the jobs, and then maybe a good conversation, and then you send over the quote, and then crickets. And obviously this is more of a sales conversation, and there's ways to avoid that / how to get them roped back in and get them involved, but we're not going to go down all that. So point being is like, don't ever feel bad, regardless of what industry you're in. If people ghost you, maybe you're more respectful of people's time and you appreciate communication. And this is something I've learned to grow into, even if I don't use somebody for something, I shoot them a quick note. I say, hey, didn't work out for X reason. No hard feelings. I'd love to hit you back up if that's okay with you, and give them a graceful exit. But a lot of people, they don't give a fuck, or they're savages.
Yeah.
Or a very likely scenario is they're really busy and they got shit going on in their life, and actually, coincidentally, ever since you met with them, they haven't had a second to breathe, and so then they're like, oh, he's followed up 3 times, and then they get overwhelmed because they got a lot of shit. And I can say this because I've had this happen in my life, when maybe I'm getting 2 or 3 bids on a project, and we can also talk about this on another episode, but I don't think the universal get 3 bids thing is smart, and we can talk about that on another podcast. But anyways, don't feel bad. People ghost people all the time, and it's no big deal. But the point is you got to show up daily like he's doing, and you got to hustle, and that's what it takes when, let's say, you're not as well known as I don't know, a famous actor or somebody who's just given roles and opportunities. Like, let's say Matt Damon. I don't know if you know, or maybe you know, but 150 million to do a movie. I mean, he's up to
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he's at ridiculous numbers now. Yeah. So he says no to most stuff, but like, he'll get offers for $100 million to shoot a fucking movie, and that's insane. And I never thought Matt Damon was like that incredible of an actor. I do think he's an amazing actor, but the numbers that he's commanding, I think he's got a good agent. He's like really built his career the right way. So this is Matt Damon, if you're listening, I love you. I think you're tremendous. But my point is that you're smart.
Give his dad a call.
Yeah, give my dad a call. But you're smart about how you draft your contracts and things, because you've built this up into you're not a dime a dozen.
Right.
You're incredibly unique, and that's why people hunt Matt Damon down for their movies.
Well, and a path you can go down too is say, you don't hear a lot of crap about Matt Damon.
That's true.
He doesn't put himself out there
to be divisive,
politically divisive,
and all
whatever.
that.
So, and I respect those actors. I may not agree with them politically, but they're not putting themselves out there.
Let's think about the on the contrary. Throw out a couple names. George Clooney, is he very outspoken?
Oh yeah, George Clooney.
And my dad is different, because he won't watch a movie once he hears that you're a scumbag. He will literally not watch your movies anymore. I still think you're a good actor, and I can put that aside during the movie to watch it. But there are people like George Clooney,
Robert De Niro.
Outspoken. Oh my God, he's gone. And that sucks, because he's such a tremendous actor. And again, I can shut it off. It's in your mind, though.
I do watch sometimes, but
But you're hesitant to give them the time of day anymore, because you don't agree with how they look at life, and that's.
And it's not that I disagree with their politics, but I disagree more so that they're so vehemently putting themselves out there.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, choose the hill you're going to die on, and they're choosing a pretty weak hill, because it's automatically 50-50. You just lost 50% of America, because they're like, I don't agree with any of that, and now I really don't want to watch your movies.
Right. Why don't you just shut up? Back in the day of...
Shut up and make $100 million.
That I grew up, Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne, all these people, they weren't out there, telling
on
you
their political rants, and it's become easier as digital.
Well, of course,
quick sound bites and clips and things that, hey, there's 6 seconds of a conversation that was a much broader, and that also... Not that that's what's going on with these actors, but a broader conversation would be taking things out of context.
Oh, absolutely.
And, phrasing it in a way that seems like they said something.
Right.
And you could take that from a 10-second clip, but if you listen to the whole thing, that was not at all their intention.
Right.
And so you're slandering them by deleting context.
Yep.
So,
well, one of the things we can go down the path of is AI too.
Yeah.
AI is affecting the acting world.
How is that gonna, in your opinion, long-term affect how movies are made? Is it simply going to be in 50 or 100 years actors are obsolete because we have such advanced AI that literally they can come up with a script and everything, or maybe there's guidance from a director's standpoint with the AI, but are actors out of work in 100 years, 50 years? What does that look like?
There's that, and I don't know the name, its name, but there's an actress that's been created via AI, and she's everywhere.
Huh.
She's got an agent How does an AI entity have an agent?
How does an AI agent have an agent?
But that's somebody, and I think it's going to affect all the arts.
For sure.
Songs, writing.
That is another weird thing, and this has been on Joe Rogan, and he's talked about this. He was like, there's songs that are better than the originals, and they're made by AI, and all AI has to do is like go into whatever, Spotify or Apple Music, and they'll quickly, you tell it, hey, I want a pop song that sounds like this, that, and the other, and it's like quickly, almost instantaneously better than these people who are dedicating hours and years.
It's scary.
So, I mean, we could get to a point where it's like the relics are the actual humans that used to do these things.
That's right.
And in the future, it's AI making music, making movies. And it's not to say that maybe they'll be bad in the long run. It's simply saying they're so advanced that they could literally replace humans. By also, let's take this as an example. Let's take George Clooney's entire database of movies. And you frame that to an AI, and the AI can literally like hyper watch the movies and then tell it what you want the new George Clooney to look like in this next movie, and then bam, it'll spit it out with a almost identical image. And granted, this is expensive and this is not where it is today, but in the long run, I see that being completely viable, where it's just so good at simply copying a character from so much data, so many movies George Clooney has done, so much acting and all that. And it can perfectly replicate him, and really all you need is then someone who knows how to work AI and a director, and they can put their heads together and it can do animation. Then you don't have to actually, like we were talking about earlier, produce with this ridiculous Buick commercial where they chopped a car in half and they towed it on a trailer and they were spraying a hose at you to make it look like it was raining. They don't need any of that. It can be digitally recreated. So it's an interesting
change.
That among obviously everything else.
Your business, you don't have to worry about that as much
Not
because
in
it's
the
a
immediate
physical
future.
labor.
It's also advanced physical labor in the sense that, the first things to go will be mowing. Mowing is going to be gone sooner than later. There's already machines that are out there where I can even take
you've told me
a commercial lawnmower that I already own. I can pay for a subscription on this new platform, and all you have to do one time is go to a person's address, as long as it's configured and set up. I go to a person's address, and granted, they need to be simple lawns. They don't need to be complex with a bunch of walkways and things going in between. But if I took a big square, a big rectangle, or a big circle at someone's home, all I have to do to set it up one time is I do the mapping. And the mapping is me literally riding the mower around the perimeter, the outermost area of where I want it to mow, and it documents it, saves it as a map at that address. It's geotagged, geolocated, and then I can, after that initial loop is done, set it to go, and I can tell it what pattern I want. And it'll do it in whatever direction I want, and it'll start on one side, and it'll stripe it, by the way, perfectly. There is no human accidentally has some squiggles. It's perfect. It runs the machine perfect.
Wow.
And this is simply a commercial lawnmower that a human could operate too.
Yeah.
And so that's why I respect their technology, because they're like, hey, how do we not create something that's like a new product where they have to come buy our $50,000 robot mower? We can take a $7,000 commercial lawnmower, outfit it with this stuff. Granted, it's expensive. It's like, $1,000 a month maybe for maintenance. But then we are harnessing an asset that's already owned by the lawn guy or the landscaper, and then that's what it can do. It can mow. And their pitch to landscapers, lawn guys, is that then you can have your people go trim the shrubs, pull the weeds, spread mulch, clean up leaves, etc., while it does the monotonous
mowing.
It's monotonous, the right word there. The simple task of mowing. Which takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
How about that person is not on the mower, let it do its thing, and then do the rest of the work.
Right.
And then you get to charge a premium because you're more efficient, you're faster, and obviously you'd have to make it work financially by doing enough homes every week. But, that's the direction it's headed. So all that to say, it's going to be there for mowing. It already is on a small version, and those bigger commercial things are now coming to market. But the property has to be perfect. It's not smart enough to logistically do a crazy property with gates and steps, and you got to take a push
open the
here
gates.
And there. Yeah, it's not gonna do that. Hedging shrubs, that's another thing. That's more of an art, less of a.
Yeah.
You can tell a robot to go chop something and it'll be straight. but that doesn't mean that's like
It's
how it's
pretty
going to
or-
look
yeah,
good, you know.
right.
And so I think that that'll take a very, very, very long time. But first thing that comes to mind with AI is definitely, you know, acting might become obsolete, things of that sort of nature where they don't need you to be there. They have so much data that you can upload to AI in terms of the commercials and the movies and all that, and it can simply recreate the person.
Yeah.
So I think maybe long term that becomes licensing of your image. And I think Jake Paul may have already done this. Jake Paul's a 20-some-year-old
MMA,
influencer or whatever. Boxing and anyways, it'll probably be licensing your image to allow AI to use it, and then you get a percentage of viewership or whatever.
Well, you could, taking it to a even farther extent. So let's say George Clooney, he's 90 years old and he licenses it for his family, his image. So after he dies, they can still be making George Clooney movies because it's now an AI.
Yeah, it won't be bad for them financially, but it may make their jobs obsolete. And so they're kind of in the era of like, maybe this is the last few decades of actors, and then at some point they're all going to be licensing their images to directors who use AI to recreate them.
Right. And then just going to sit and make mailbox money.
They'll make mailbox money, but it'll be cheaper to produce the movies.
Oh, of course.
Because then they don't have to go through all that crazy production.
Yeah.
But AI itself is expensive, and I don't know how the numbers would pencil out, but AI itself is very expensive, and so there'll probably be some ebb and flow on that front of figuring out how to make it.
The cost of AI will probably come down over time as well.
Yesterday I was using Claude, and Claude, it was funny, it prompted me that I was out of minutes, and out of free conversation, and it prompted me to upgrade. And so then I upgrade, it's $20 a month, whatever. And then as soon as I upgraded, it said your usage is capped out for the day.
Oh, jeez.
Son of a bitch. I wasn't going to upgrade if I thought that would then allow me to keep using it.
Yeah, of course.
But then it said, no, even with the paid plan, AI costs so much to use to Anthropic that they would be losing money if you used it for longer than this period of time.
Wow.
And that period of time can be sped up if you upload a lot of images and videos and things that are more demanding in terms of its computing power.
Yeah.
So you can lose that faster or longer. So then it prompted me to sign up for usage credits. And usage credits are basically, hey, you ran out of usage on your $20 a month plan, you want some more? And so, but the thing with it, I did buy usage credits because I had something I wanted to finish, and it was $45, and I'm like, maybe that'll give me a month or a week or whatever of extra usage. But it doesn't tell you how they calculate the spend that you're buying usage credits for. Mm-hmm. So it's very vague, and it has a toggle button. Do you want us to auto refresh your usage credit on a set frequency? Mm-hmm. So it's basically like, we're not going to tell you how fast you're going to go through your usage credit, but do you want to go ahead and like commit to a longer term plan of recurring billing for usage?
Yeah,
I didn't know this was a thing. So that was a bit of an interesting surprise. I signed up for Claude, and then they prompted me with the usage, and I bought it. But I only had something I wanted to finish, and it was giving me PDFs, and I knew the PDF would be valuable, so I did it. But all that to say, AI is expensive.
I ran into that with Moosey. I was trying to animate Moosey. And
a lot of computing power.
You can only do 5-second clips.
You told me that.
And
was that on the free plan or in general?
That was, no, that's in general.
Wow.
Because I ended up signing up, paying $30 a month, and I would get X number of credits.
Interesting. Was this ChatGPT?
This was, it was something called Pika, Pika.
Specifically for video production?
Yeah, for creating videos. And so I could put 2 images in, and it would create 10 seconds. Or I could put 1 image in, and it would create 5 seconds. So then you've got to tie all those together. Okay, let's take all these 5-10 second images, and you tie them together to make a longer movie. But as you know, it's all about, with AI, the prompts. The more accurate your prompts are of what you want, the more accurate your results will be.
Yes.
If you put in something real generic, you're going to get something real generic, and then you're going to have to keep refining it.
Yeah, exactly.
But AI is just, it's fascinating, and it's scary, but it's like social media was. Social media was scary at first, still is, but over time, I think people will get used to it.
Yeah.
I think it'll get less expensive. But there is the threat of, well, with any technology, there's the threat of the bad actors using it. Not literally actors, but bad people using it.
Of course, yeah. In the wrong hands.
The deep fakes, all this other stuff. I mean, it's going to get to a point you don't know what to trust.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to pencil out or pan out. Because, it will be to a point where how do you distinguish? How do you know what's AI? How do you know what's not? It could be, that could all get real scary if they start to impersonate presidents. And
you've got China and Russia trying to,
that's what I mean. Like they make a fake threat from a nation. And then that nation thinks, the other nation thinks that they're going to attack them because they had an AI threat from a hacker. Yeah. And there was no ill intent to begin with, but somebody harnessed the power of it, and they I don't know how that becomes verifiable of is it fake, is it real? Because that could end up leading to everybody nuking each other.
Of course.
And the world not being.
Yeah, there's been movies about that, not using AI, but back in the day of fake.
Exactly.
Whatevers.
We'll see how that pans out.
Definitely.
Well, I think as a whole, that's probably a good first episode. You're going to be a return visitor, so
I will.
You're not barred. You're not barred after today. There was some value there, so I like it.
A little
value.
Hopefully, people are watching.
I think there's a lot of value, and Elise will be able to chop a lot of this up, and the long form will go to YouTube.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to give you all that. Mr. Jacob will do a good job. But would love to have you back out, and we'll do another deep dive on some different topics. Obviously, we could have taken a lot of these in different directions, but I think that this is a lot of interesting stuff if people, are curious about acting and I don't know, flying planes and helicopters, and there was a lot we kind of brushed on. Pretty interesting.
Well, I'm glad that you were one of my spawn.
One of his spawns. Yep, one of his spermies come to life. I say this to a couple of my friends who have had kids recently. I say, what is it like seeing your sperm become a real human? What is it like to know that they started in your body and they're literally like yapping and talking and moving and like, that seems kind of
talking back to you.
Yeah, talking back to you or whatever. It's like, hey, I gave you life.
That's right.
Okay, you do not have the right. All right.
I
love you. Appreciate you coming on, and he'll be back.
All right.
More.
Thanks.
To the max.
To the max.